Well, hello, and welcome to the Cigar Professor. Welcome to the millions of you watching live, and of course, the couple of billion of you that will be watching the replay in due course. Yes, that's right, I'm back. I'm back. Let the masses return. Let the throngs reappear to watch my on-screen magic. I know you had to suffer through last month with just Omar and Damo and some other riffraff who will remain nameless. But look, it's okay. I'm with you again this month. You're welcome. However, one thing that cannot be taken away from Damo is the fact that he's the one who curates this amazing collection of cigars for us. We return to the Southern Draw. We've had a few of these over the journey. We're now, many years in, and I believe we're approaching the end of our fourth year. I think when we get to Christmas this year, I think that'll be our fourth Christmas together, or our fourth year together. And we have the Southern Draw Jacob's Ladder, which is, of course, a reference to when a doorway to heaven opened, where Jacob was sleeping and he had angels ascending and descending a ladder. So is this, in fact, the stairway to heaven? There is only one way to find out, and that, of course, is to smoke it. And regrettably, I can't do that on my own because the two men who form the triumvirate that is the Cigar Professor are currently banging on their screens, begging me to let them in. So without further ado, Professor Damo, how are you?
I'm doing better, which is the main thing.
Doing better. You've had a bit of a rough trot. It is good to see you again. I wasn't able to join you last month when you were back, but good to see you again. Tell me a little bit about this, because this is actually quite an unusual combination of tobaccos.
Oh, it is. It's a US wrapper on it, a Pennsylvania grown broadleaf wrapper on it. It's also a US binder. However, the filler in it is Dominican and Nicaraguan. So it's quite an interesting blend. It is look. I haven't experienced it as being full-bodied. I would say it's on the full side of medium. But some people do claim that this is a full-bodied stick as far as strength is concerned. So what I would suggest to our viewers tonight is make sure you've got something to drink and eat beside you, something sugary just in case.
I took some vitamin C before we started, and I have access to a little bit of sugar in case I need it. But of course, I'm a real man with hairs on my chest, so I, of course, won't need any of that. And someone who is doing his best to impersonate a real man with hairs on his face is none other than Professor Omar. How are you, Professor?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well.
Unfortunately,
I'm led to believe you were part of the show last month. I saw all the complaints come in.
I just so regretful.
Yeah.
And I had a beautiful show.
I'm having a lot of trouble hearing what you're saying there, Omar.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, that's better.
Oh, it's better. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was saying that it's so sad to see your face again.
It's regrettable.
Yes.
I feel the same thing every morning when I look in the mirror, but there's not much I can do about that.
Well, we did miss you, man. We did have a good show, but yeah, we are back. Don't want to miss the show, man.
All right. What are your thoughts? It's a broadleaf wrapper, so there should be some strength to it. It's actually a Maduro binder, which I find really interesting. So, are we thinking V cuts?
Nah. I'm just going to go for a straight cut personally, with my perfect cutter. So, the other thing is too, in your packs, you would have got a bit of cedar. It wasn't to flavour the cigars, although it would have done a little bit of that. Not that there's much cedar smell left in it. But the idea is to actually snap off a thin strip of it, like that, and use it as a cedar quill to light it, because this cigar had the cedar wrapped around it, but it's got a big piece of sticky tape, and I figured it probably wouldn't taste too good if you did Topher's trick of lighting that up and sucking it through. So I thought with this particular pack, I'll get some extra cedar and send everybody a bit so that they can light it up with cedar. Now, I recommend 2 to 3 pieces of cedar. You're going to toast it with 1 or 2, and then you're going to light up on the final piece of cedar that you've got.
Tell you what, the aroma is fascinating. it's already got a twist. It's already got a little bit of or vinegar or something in there. Lovely sort of Maduro tone to that.
It's also got a closed foot too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm slowly toasting that foot. I've actually decided not to cut it as well. I'm actually going to cut it as I do the final quill to actually not let any of the smoke go up into the cigar
and then
ready.
the whole cigar.
So there are those people out there that have this thought that you should toast a cigar before you actually cut it, and that prevents any of the unfavorable, harsh, smoky flavors getting into the cigar before you're ready to draw on it.
I see. Interesting theory.
Whether there's any truth in that, I'm yet to ascertain, but that's the idea anyway. So I've toasted it. Now I'm going to cut it.
I'm just very slow toast, keeping. Oh no, that is actually a little bit closer than I intended. I was intending to do a very slow toast. And this cigar toasting is very soon going to turn into a finger roasting, so I'm just going to be careful.
Mm.
Very thick smoke. It's got a little bit of spice, cedary spice, woody spice with cedar type of light up.
Definitely.
Mm.
Well, the cedar, of
There's
course, is
some sweet fruitiness in there as well.
Yeah. I think underneath there's a dry type of fruitiness. Very dry fruitiness. I think it could be that like the sourness of a cherry or that sourness that comes out of plum sometimes. That type of skin of a stone fruit type of sweetness where it's like, it's still got this spice and cedar, but it got this fruitiness on.
It's definitely a black pepper spice.
Yeah, black pepper spice, a bit more bolder than a white spice. So, yeah,
I was noticing the draw, Stu. It feels like quite a tightly packed cigar. It feels like the way a Maduro should, but
Yeah.
it breathes very, very well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
breathing well. I feel that there will be a drier cigar. It just feels to me that it might be a very drier smoke. It's a good idea to get some drinks going, but it's very packed.
Very well packed. The Maduro as a binder is an interesting choice for me, and I'm kind of curious to see just how much sort of body that brings out. Stu, Damo, you were saying that you don't think it's necessarily a full strength. It's more of a sort of a strong medium in flavor.
That's been my experience with the couple of these that I've had.
Yeah.
The one thing I have really appreciated about it though is it's got a beautiful sweetness through this cigar, and Maduros are renowned for having that sort of thick, heavy, syrupy sweetness notes to it. So I'm hoping that this cigar lives up to the expectations that the previous couple that I've had have done.
Quite a thick burn line developing already. There's a lot of depth to the wrapper binder combination.
I think I agree with the depth, and I think it's certainly, to me, it also already feels like a full body smoke. It has a whole lot of different complexity and a full bodiness coming through it. It's by no means I'm finding it more towards a full body.
Well, the foot smoke is full of aroma, full of texture and flavor.
Mm-hmm. And it's a thick smoke. That the fruity or dry fruitiness is becoming more profound. It's kind of overpowering the cederness and the spice. But the black spices say that it's definitely black pepper. It's not white.
I think the whole cigar has settled noticeably after that initial light up. It just settled right down really quickly. For me, the spice has taken a very, very distant back seat, I guess, along the lines of what you were saying with the fruit kind of taking over. For me, it's not so much that the fruit's taken over. I just feel like the spice is just backed right off.
Yeah. The spice is right off. And I think it still tells me that there is some type of, I don't know if it's a Maduro binder or it's the wrapper, but it's certainly given me some sort of cacao-y earthiness to it, coffee/cacao earthiness to it, and
it's sort of that sort of
transition,
more like cocoa nibs. Sort of got that fruity cocoa nib sort of note to it,
and that's very, very strong at the moment. I'm a bit ahead of you guys. So it's very strong. It's just popping right with this fruitiness with the cacao/coffee note. It's beautiful.
You must be smoking fast if you're that far through already.
That's a fucking far for sure. It's really good. I'm enjoying it. I think you guys were toasting the cigar, and I've seen a number of old school Cuban families in Nicaragua. When they use the cedar or the match, they don't toast it. They that, and I did the same. It's been a good experience so far.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons I did toast it was because it had a closed foot. I wouldn't have been able to draw too well straight through a closed foot.
Been all right though.
No problem. See, I would have. I hesitated to toast it. I nearly was just going to contradict you, Damo, and do what Omar did. It pains me to admit, actually, because of the closed foot. The fact that it had a closed foot was what made me, because one of the things I love about the closed foot is drawing in that abundance of the wrapper tobacco specifically. But I chose not to this time.
Actually, was a good experience. If you have more of those, I would try without toasting in a cedar or matchstick, and it's been beautiful since.
Yeah. Noted.
Just starting to get a creaminess starting to creep in on mine.
Yeah, a little bit creaminess.
But I'm getting the creaminess already.
Settled right down. Still very sweet. Still got a bit of fruit. A little bit of the cacao, a little bit of the bakery.
Yeah.
Spice. So the spice is almost only there in cinnamon form. It's a very sweet spice now. The pepper is gone.
Look, I'm still getting pepper.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, still getting pepper, but it's somewhat because the sweet is so powerful. It's just kind of lingering. Yeah. It's not like the main note anymore. It's just lingering. Yeah. It's just slightly linger. So, but nonetheless, very sweet cigar. And I think that fruity and cacao-ness, and it's dominant. What about the smoke, man? It's tons of smoke. It's producing tons of smoke.
Yeah. And lovely texture to it as well.
Beautiful.
Even Mr.
Well
Stew's
done, finding him, Mr. Stew.
He got my cigar.
Yes, well, I noticed you. I was giving you cigars with rings in them, but I noticed a couple of shows you weren't finding too many, so I thought I'd let somebody else have a go.
I've been fired, hey? I wasn't meeting the minimum performance expectations.
You know, who we really haven't had in a while at the Cigar Professor, I was talking to Damo about it, is Professor Pete. You know?
Yeah, been a little while.
It's been a little while.
Life's been busy for him, fixing up the property and all that.
He's had a hell of a journey the last few months himself, along not along the same lines as me, but he's had quite a lot on his plate. So,
we're not interested in Daniel's rings, man.
He's always got plenty of rings. He's surrounded by them. Make of that what you will.
Yeah, he's a ring man.
Loves them.
There's almost a little bit like a treacle note on the end of that. Sort of that earthy, deep, sort of minerally woody sweetness.
I'm not too sure about the mineral part, but everything else I definitely agree. In my cigar, anyway, I think.
Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. You're tough. You go.
Damon, I was just going to ask you, what are you sipping on? What are you drinking?
I have a black Earl Grey, and I have a ginger ale.
Tough.
Yeah.
Tell you something. Next time you come down to Sydney, you got to try this baby, man. It is an absolute delight. It is an absolute delight. About 10% blueberry strawberry juice. And I think that is complementing the cigar like no tomorrow.
Well, Omar, I know you're like the expert on all these things, but I hate to contradict you. The pink grapefruit's where it's at.
Pink grapefruit. What a fag. Oh, shit.
Coming from
there was
you.
a ring too. You got a small ring there as well.
Yeah.
Coming from you, huh? Wow.
Hey. Men. It's a man's business.
Don't knock pink grapefruit, Omar. I'm into it as well.
Yeah.
Where's the change our orientation? I don't know why.
What are you trying to do?
That's orientation.
Playing around with it.
You want to do that one? Okay.
Yeah.
We can do that
He
one.
wants to be on the bottom.
Yeah.
Thanks.
As soon as he sees me blowing rings, he knows where he wants to be.
Not tough. Yeah, it's actually pairing really, really well.
Yeah. It's playing nice. I was going to grab a black tea, and then I got distracted playing my son's Nintendo Switch and then forgot. So no black tea for me.
Well, I was going to do a black tea, but then I remembered the flavour notes in this, and I thought the notes in an Earl Grey would probably pair a little bit better with the complexity of the cigar.
Now, Mr. Stu, when I talk about these things,
seriously,
what happens in King Lake stays in King Lake. Dan's got some 15-year aged homebrew whiskey. How's your eyesight, Dan? You planning on keeping it for the next little while? Homebrew whiskey. That's some moonshine right there.
Baby.
I've got a little bit of a burn issue starting to creep up on me here.
User error. Use it.
Yeah. I'll give it a couple more puffs and see if it wants to correct, but if it doesn't, I'll have to intervene.
It's amateur hour here at the Cigar Professor.
I've been out of practice.
Yeah, must be.
They wouldn't let me have cigars with double pneumonia in hospital.
Nah.
What?
We did it the other day.
I don't know. I'm sure it would have helped.
They should be bringing the cigars to your bedside.
Just born in the wrong era. I'm sure if it had been in the 40s, they definitely would have.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, my last trip, I'm actually completely blown away in Asia and Middle East with the cigars. Dude, I got off my mate's corner and I had a cigar in my hand. I said, we're going to this fancy restaurant. What do you want me to do with this? He's like, what do you want to do? I said, I want to keep on smoking. He said, let's do that. And we did.
It's the simple things in life, isn't it?
Simple things in life, man.
Getting quite an atmosphere in here, actually, from this cigar.
Yeah,
Impressive.
man. Smoke.
Considering I've got a big factory roller door open behind me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm outdoors, but I'm still. It lingers. It lingers around.
It lingers around.
The funny thing is, Omar, I go for walks from time to time, smoking a cigar as I walk, and the overwhelmingly I get people commenting on how good it smells.
Yes.
if people have a problem with it, they don't tend to say anything. I don't know. I'm not aware of those people. They're, I've obviously blocked them out of my memory or something. I don't know. But, so often people are like, oh, that smells really good. What is that?
Yeah.
Or people say, oh, I love the smell of cigars. My granddad used to smoke cigars, or whatever it might be, right? Overwhelmingly positive associations with cigars, and yet, can't have it indoors, can't have a bar that serves food in a smoking area.
That's right. The biggest cringe in Sydney, I've had a number of times, that the shisha bars or hookah bars would not let you smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
And that makes me, it destroys people. It's such a beautiful, what? It's just, it's the biggest cringe ever. By far.
Dear. First world problem.
Cigar Aficionado just did another interview with Schwarzenegger. He's going to be on the cover of an upcoming release. It'll be the 5th time he's been on the cover of the magazine. He also now holds the record. Well, he held the record for 4 times, but he's maintaining his record of being the most featured person on the front cover of the magazine.
Yeah, wow.
But it was interesting. I mean, the interview was very long and boring because it mostly wanted to talk about his time as the governator. But it was interesting that he set up a tent that he could go out and smoke in. And he'd go out to the tent and take the tie off, unbutton his shirt and have a cigar and do some of his business work smoking. Anyway, he was saying that what he actually found was some of the people on the other side of politics to him would want to bring legislation through which his party wouldn't be willing to pass. And what he actually found out was one of the guys on the other side that had some legislation was also a cigar smoker. And so they'd go out into the tent, light up some cigars and sit down like gentlemen and talk things through. And Schwarzenegger would say, well, these are all the problems we're going to have with it. But if we can make this change and that change, and can we do something about this and do something about that? And he actually said over cigars, it facilitated the ability to compromise and discuss and come with a piece of paper that he could take to his party and actually throw his weight behind it to push it through.
Yeah.
So my theory that politics would be much more civil and much more constructive if they'd all smoked cigars has just been proven correct.
Yeah.
So, yet again, I'm right.
Yeah, of course. Always, Omar, always.
So, and another interesting little tidbit in America, the which agent, I can't remember, the agency that regulates, is not the FDA, regulates the taxation on tobacco.
The ATF?
ATF. Have sort of not exactly lost the court case about trying to tax cigars at the moment, but basically the judge has turned around and said, no, you can't do that. And they've basically asked for sort of like a recess period so they can sort of reformulate their arguments and what they want to come back with. But basically the judges agreed with the handmade premium cigar industry that the data doesn't support the rationale behind the purpose of taxation on all tobacco to apply to cigars. And so the case isn't over, but it's sort of a very small victory in the right direction. So they're quite happy. And the interesting thing was that the judge that ruled on this was a judge appointed by Obama, which they didn't think was likely to rule in that direction. But they're all cheering at the moment. So
yeah, that's good. It's a rare ray of sunshine.
Topher, where are you at? Damon's cigar seems to be burning real slow.
I'm enjoying it. I don't feel like I need to rush this cigar.
It's
probably a tad ahead of me.
Yeah, fraction. But honestly, it just doesn't need to be smoked fast. It's quite happy to sit.
It's giving some beautiful flavors on just a low, slow draw.
So Dan is christening his new shed. So enjoy that, Daniel. A new man cave in the making.
Nice.
Well, with the amount of smoke this thing's making, I reckon it's the right choice for the christening cigar. That's for sure.
Mm,
It'll season the whole shed.
it would.
Mate, we should have all been down at his place for a live herf, and the four of us sitting in there smoking this thing. It'd be like going to a nightclub and the smoke machine's working to the max.
Yes, indeed. Yep. One of you has something very squeaky going on.
Birds in the tree behind me.
Okay. Tim, that's your fault. Come on, spice it up.
Can't disagree with that.
So it's on between Mr. Stu and Damo to see who can smoke slower.
Yes, well, I want to finish by the end of the show.
We'll just finish the show, whether you finished or not.
Well, look, you've done that to me before. So.
Only when you had like that much left, but Omar had already fallen asleep.
Yeah.
Omar was on his third cigar.
Yeah.
Where are we at with the notes? I think it's mild down a little bit.
It has gone really, really mild, actually.
It's got a soft, fluffy texture to the smoke now. The smoke is still voluminous, but its texture has lightened. It's not as dry as it was at the start. It's definitely a lot softer.
Yeah, it's definitely softer. It's
Still getting those cedar notes through there. There's still a little hint of pepper on like after I finished and, I'm talking now, I can just feel a little bit of pepper down here in the throat.
Bottom of the throat, yeah.
You mean deeper in the throat?
Omar,
Yes.
I presume that you being a skilled and experienced smoker as you are, you're getting absolutely perfect burn with a razor sharp edge.
Razor sharp. Razor.
Funny that. Yeah. I can't imagine how cack-handed you would have to be to need to retouch something like this. Or to get like a wonky burn line would just be
I'm outdoors.
No, it just feels like one of those cigars that you could smoke quite slowly. You could be doing something in a workshop, put this down for quite some time to fiddle with whatever it is you need to do next, and be quite sure that when you pick it up, it's going to be just fine, ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh. Them's fighting words, Mr. Stu. He says it's like a 4-cylinder Mustang. It looks tough on the outside, it's mushy in the middle. That is, that's harsh, man. You should watch the language.
What about David? I wonder how David is finding it.
David Linehelm, if you're watching, let us know how you're going. He was on last month, wasn't he?
He was, yes.
Flavor report for tasting note report from Daniel. Definitely mellowed right out. A real creaminess, hints of cinnamon, toast, cacao, and dates. Interesting. So that's the sweet fruit that Daniel's getting.
Yeah, we had this chat about the dry fruits. It's definitely there. I think Toph, you mentioned the cinnamon part. I think that's when the spice was getting sweeter, and it had
yeah. Really just easing off. So where is Southern Draw based? They are a US brand, aren't they?
They are a US brand, yeah.
Which then explains the emphasis on the US tobaccos in this.
Yeah.
They're also quite a premium brand in America. They're not as common as you would think because they're a lot more expensive than one of the other cigars on the market. And also not a lot of stores. I mean, you know, there's brands like Perdomo and Fuente and CAO and stuff like that are stocked in every cigar shop. But Southern Draw, I have noticed, is one of those brands that not every cigar store stocks. So it's, you know, you might find that only maybe 1 out of every 2 shops will actually have this brand on their shelf.
Yeah, okay. Well, the bands have come off nice and easy.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Look at that, straight off. Exactly what just like the cedar foot slid straight off.
Yeah,
perfect.
Nice.
Couldn't ask for better.
So Tony's got a good question here. Had an appointment with a new medical place recently, so I had to complete the survey about my health. For the "Are you a smoker?" question, I answered no. How would you answer that question? I can only comment from the one time I have talked about it with the doctor, where I basically asked them, like, what do you want me to say? I smoke roughly 1 to 2 cigars a week. The doctor was literally completely dismissive. It was like, oh, no, that's a non-smoker. So for him, for that particular doctor, 1 to 2 cigars a week did not rate a mention at all. So based on my experience, fellas, you tell me what you've experienced, but based on my experience, Tony, I would have answered the same way.
Exactly the same. I mean, I don't even smoke 1 a week. I probably smoke 2, maybe 3 a month.
Yeah.
And effectively, I've had similar advice from a couple of doctors on the same statement. Interestingly enough, one of the things that moved me from being a once every few months cigar smoker, because originally I used to only smoke, say, 4 or 5 cigars a year.
Yeah.
Was one of my doctors told me that I need to find something that I can do and disconnect from the world and relax.
Yep.
And my wife was with me at the appointment, and she said, oh, he quite enjoys having a cigar with his mates.
Mm-hmm.
And my doctor raised one eyebrow and looked at me a little bit, concerned. And I said, look, I'm a purist with cigars. It's like wine tasting, swish and spit. I don't inhale. And I only smoke cigars that are handmade, 100% tobacco, no chemicals, no anything else added to it. And it was his recommendation is, well, it wouldn't hurt if have 1 or 2 a week. So,
yeah.
And he still classifies me as a non-smoker. So,
yeah. Well, I'm sure there's been more recent research, but when I looked into it quite some time ago now, I found a study that even then was already well over 10 years old. So it'd have to be 20 years old now, where they studied, and if my memory serves me correctly, by the time you were having 3 cigars a week, although it might have even been more than that, the correlation with all causes of cancer was within the margin of error. So even at 3 cigars a week, they couldn't detect a change.
I think they got up to 5, and there was no noticeable increase in the rate of cancer with outside of the error margin in the cigar-only smoking people.
Yeah.
Compared to the background population.
Yeah. So whatever downsides they have, and I'm not saying there aren't any, but whatever downsides they have, personally, I've made the decision that the upside to my mental health and state of mind and general sense of well-being well and truly outweighs it. And what's interesting is there is now quite a lot of research going on into nicotine specifically. It seems to be a renewed interest in the role that nicotine can play in mental health and cognition and and mood, motivation,
Actually,
all those sorts of things.
There was a study that came out about 3-4 months ago that nicotine consumption aided in the body's recovery of the loss of smell and taste from COVID.
Was it you that mentioned that to me? Someone's mentioned that to me before.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I lost my sense of smell and taste while I was sick, it wasn't as a result of the COVID. It was a result of the remdesivir that they gave me without my knowledge. So that lasted for many weeks. So
Yeah, wow.
then I had a cigar, and it definitely improved from that point onwards. So,
Well, I saw Mr. Stew on Saturday. He generously plied me with a pair of cigars, and I got stuck into the beers, and then Mr. Stew kindly brought me a Guinness, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll make this my last beer then, because that's otherwise it's going to be a bit much. And I smoked one cigar and I drank one Guinness, and then he forced me against my will. I mean, it was just such a brutal. He attacked me with another cigar, and so of course I had to smoke that, and then. No sooner had I emptied the Guinness that was in front of me, but all of a sudden he was back with another one. And so, of course, I was obliged to finish that as well. I will admit to taking some painkillers the next morning. I haven't done that for a while, and I've lost about 15 kilos since the last time I did that, and my body responded a little bit differently to what I'm used to. And so well done, Stu. You gave me a dusty morning on Sunday morning.
Good man, Stu.
I'm reasonably sure that Omar's going to outlive us all, just by sheer stubbornness.
Boys, no disrespect to anyone or their doctor. I don't remember. Last time I listened to a doctor when I was 13. And I have rarely met a GP that spends 5 years in a uni studying pharmacology and chemicals have any respect for their opinion about anyone's health. I mean, each to their own. I respect that. But at no point they learn research. At no point they learn to analyze research. They don't research. So what a doctor say is, I'm happy to piss while he's speaking and not to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, so much of medicine now is just a sales channel for pharmaceuticals. There are some good ones amongst them, but by and large, I tend to agree with you. The other thing that annoys me about doctors now is in my adult life, I have never been to a doctor and gotten a diagnosis different to the one that I already expected based on having looked into my symptoms myself.
And they give you a tip about your health apart from an antibiotic, a painkiller, paracetamol, or any of those things have nothing else in the arsenal to give.
Yeah, so these days, with the power of the internet, a sensible person who isn't a hypochondriac can probably do a decent job of self-diagnosing most of the time. There's a role for medical professionals. There's a role for people that study this stuff. But like you say, these guys, a lot of them don't actually study. They just repeat what they were told. And
there's absolutely no denying about the ability for emergency care and life-saving stuff. And it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
That's different. 100%. 100% I'm with you on that.
That role it's so important. And we are very appreciative of that. But that's where it starts and finishes.
Let's just say I would not have wanted to be involved in a high-speed car crash in the 1500s.
Yes.
Right? You know, if I'd managed to find a car and drive it at high speeds and crash it, I would have been in much more trouble than what I would be today.
Yeah. Coming out of a horse, for example, or something.
Yeah.
Well, the last few months has made me make a decision in my life that I now don't have any doctors under the age of 50.
Yeah.
So both my GPs, one GP's a few years off retirement, the other one is probably about 10 years younger. But as a result of all my illnesses, the GP organised for me to see a specialist, and the specialist she hooked me up with was definitely in his 50s, and just the level of experience and appreciation for the quality of life and what the patient is going through was so much better compared to the 30-year-olds that have just first year out of uni in hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also when it comes to medical professionals, a little bit of humility goes a long way. I would happily, I'd happily have a GP, with maybe a lower IQ if they actually just listened and were attentive and thoughtful, rather than some super smart, know-it-all who just wants to, get you through the door, tell you what's going on, and just, I don't know, I just find with that profession especially, just a little bit of humility goes a long way.
Yeah. And how do you reconcile giving someone remdesivir that you have never tested against a cigar? Put that in perspective for a change.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Yes, indeed.
And it's actually quite interesting too, because from the moment things were starting to go downhill, and just before I went into hospital, I started keeping a health diary.
Right.
And recording what could be insignificant, but every little thing that was abnormal for me.
Yeah.
And the thing that I found interesting was how much I had 5 different doctors in the hospital, 4 specialists and 1 normal doctor. How dismissive they were that I'd been keeping an accurate record of all these symptoms and all these things that were different and unusual and wrong, because it didn't fit any of their paradigms.
Yeah, right.
It didn't fit anything they were taught. It didn't fit anything that was the same as anyone else. And to one of the doctors, I said, well, just because you haven't experienced it, you haven't had any patients who've experienced it, and it's not written down, doesn't make these symptoms any less real for me. And perhaps if you actually take note of this, the next time someone's in my position and says the same thing, it won't be unusual. You'll be able to say, oh, yes, we've seen that before. But no, that was a bit too far for them, because, it didn't come out of the textbook that they had from university. So
this is such a big problem in medicine at the moment. I first saw it when my little sister had a huge reaction to the triple antigen when she was very, very young. I was 13 at the time. She nearly died. And when my mum tried to talk to doctors and so forth about, well, could this have been a reaction to the triple antigen, because she just had it earlier that same day, they were dismissive. They almost kind of mocked her. And on the basis that, oh, no, well, the research is in. We know that they're safe. Well, if you're dismissing what could be adverse reactions on the basis that they're safe, then of course you've got no record of adverse reactions. They got dismissed. And so it becomes this self-perpetuating cycle. And I, as simple as it is, I'm convinced, and I think I'm in pretty good company here with both of you, I'm convinced that happens way, way, way more than most people would think.
I was listening to Suzanne Humphreys. She's obviously GP and a board-certified specialist, I think, for kidney disease at one point. And she was, in an interview, she was saying that as a specialist, she goes, I didn't know there was a process in place that tells me to write down a note if there is an adverse reaction. Even anaphylactic thing that's life-threatening, even that is, there's nothing a GP or specialist is aware to what to do with it. No reporting whatsoever. So how do you collect data against that?
Well, then you look at GPs and specialists that tried to report adverse reactions in 2021 and onwards, found it to be an incredibly time-consuming process, all kinds of glitches and issues with the online forms, and a lot of people just give up because it's just so difficult.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and the thing is that if you press them and really dig into it, they're aware that at the absolute best, most optimistic case, only 10% of adverse reactions are reported. But the grim reality is, due to the difficulty of the whole system, as you've explained, that it's probably more like 1% actually get reported. So when you look at the number of actual reports that are on the systems around the world, you can multiply it by 10 times at the least, and possibly up to 100 times at its worst.
At one point, it was the last time the data was collected, and I think it was a long time, and they omit that data profile, that medical intervention was the third or the fourth largest cause of death in America. That's after cardiac disease and cancers. They just removed that completely from that list. So
Yeah.
what do we have?
Well, I'm not wanting
I
to
think it's
dwell on it, but twice in hospital, I refused treatment and procedures because my own intuition and everything was telling me, no, this is going to kill you. And since getting out of hospital and speaking to other more experienced, older doctors and specialists, I had been confirmed that had I had actually allowed the hospital to proceed with what they wanted to do, I would have been leaving that hospital in a body bag.
Yeah, wow.
I think that's an example of someone like yourself who's knowledgeable and have had multiple experiences. I was in a small talk online, and they were medical professionals or part of an NGO that provide medical services to different kind of people in need. And they raised a very important point, which is that most pharmaceuticals have some kind of side effect, right? And there are things that you recognize, and there are multiple things that you don't recognize at the time, right? But they go towards some sort of illnesses, particularly autoimmune conditions, particularly that takes years to form, and we would recognize that. And that group gives multiple different backgrounds and religions and all sorts of things. And I said to him, the biggest dilemma in the first world in particular is that people have stopped listening to priests and pastors and religious scholars and sheikhs and whatever, but they would take everything literally a doctor says. Yeah. It is the most influential position in the first world. We have politician you can mock, but you would never really mock a doctor. When it's said to you, you need this, you will have it. And you would not have any time to do any, you would not want to do any due diligence. And that's a challenge. We have put them in a path.
And the interesting thing is too, that it's not just pharmaceutical products either. For me personally, I had a doctor of mine who's very sympathetic to our views, and the one that told me that I should probably have a few more of these to de-stress. He felt as though there was some mechanism in my body's chemistry that wasn't functioning properly, and to put that to the test, he put me on a herbal supplement called 5-HTTP. And basically, I didn't think anything of it, but then a few weeks went by, and I thought that I was dying. And I just kept getting worse and worse. And he did all these tests and couldn't find anything wrong with me. Full blood workup, like 13 vials of blood taken from me for every conceivable test he could find. Anyway, I don't always keep a diary, but, I had been keeping a record of certain things. And I realized that, 6 weeks ago, I was fine. So basically what I did is I stripped all of the things that I was taking out, all the pharmaceuticals I was on, even the supplements I was on. And then slowly I'd take one for 3 or 4 days and then add another one in and then add another one. And I finally got to the point where I took the 5-HTTP, and then 4 or 5 days later, I started feeling crap again. I stopped taking it, felt good, started taking it, felt crap. I instantly realized that was the problem. I went back to my doctor. He goes, I can't explain that. Anyway, he went away and did research. Doctors that, actually go and do research found out that I have a rare genetic condition. It's like 1 in so many million people that doesn't have a certain enzyme or something in my blood that can actually break down the byproducts from the digestion of the 5-HTTP, and the toxins that are building up in my body actually cause organ failure.
Ah, charming.
And he said, you're lucky that you actually figured that out, because if you had been on that for another couple more months, you could have died from your organs just going kaput.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said 40 years that he's known people to have taken that particular herbal supplement. First person to ever encounter to have had that thing. And he looked online, and it is very rare. There's only like a handful of cases around the world of it. So, so I think anything that you take, you've just got to be mindful of yourself if you feel it's not bringing you benefit and health, then maybe that's not for you.
Well, I've got some even worse news. We've just had a very, very heavy and serious conversation, but I'm sorry to bring it down even further. Unfortunately, Damo, you've won the Ash Challenge.
Well, I just lost it then. Well,
I know, but mine was gone a couple of minutes ago, and Omar's was gone even before that.
I think I was way about 15, 20 minutes ahead, but that's okay.
And I missed the ashtray this time too. I'm out of practice.
You're just a train wreck this episode, mate. There's always one. There's always one. Here comes Daniel. I still got mine. One in every crowd. I've got mine. It's just on the floor in front of me. I know exactly where it is. It's not attached anymore. I felt there was a slight uptick in spice when the ash dropped, but not a massive transformation.
It's interesting, that sweetness is almost reminding me a bit like fairy floss at the moment for me. Is that sort of that light, fluffy sweetness to it.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, before my ash dropped too, I was feeling like I was getting notes of fig in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
Same, Dames, just to going back to what you said, not to get into 5-HTP too much. Was it 5-HTP or 5-HTTP? It's meant to be 5-HTP.
5H, I think it's 5-HTP.
Yeah, 5-HTP is not an herbal supplement. It's a naturally occurring amino acid, which is a precursor. So it's not an herbal supplement. It's a synthetically driven amino acid, which if you take an individual amino acid in high quantities, they all can have challenges because they're not naturally occurring in its whole food form as per. So, but yeah, you got to always be careful of them. Even glutamine, glutamate can impact the brains. I mean, so widely used glutamine. So yeah, I thought I just mentioned.
Well, it did prove one fact. I didn't have the particular chemical process problem that he thought I had, but I had another one altogether.
You're a complicated beast, Damo.
Look, I keep telling my doctors, why would you want to spend 14 years becoming a specialist in your field just to rest on your laurels and let all that grey matter that you've spent so much money exercising and training go to absolute waste? But they don't seem to see the humour in that comment. So,
now, Stu, I'm sorry to correct you here. We said that it was a train wreck of a show, not a car crash of a show. So that's why it can be like that and not have you on it. It'd be probably a bit of a rollover car crash show if you were on it. Stop me if that's too soon. And Mr. Stu asks, are we watching the Herbal Professor?
We are indeed. It is the herb.
Whenever Omar's involved, yes.
Yeah.
I think isn't the Herbal Professor a show hosted by the Legalized Cannabis Party?
That's it.
That cedar note has also got a little bit deeper for me. It's not as bright as a cedar wood. It's sort of turned into more like an oaky wood flavour for me.
Mm.
There's a sharpness creeping in. I'm there. There's a sharpness creeping in on the tip of the tongue for me. It's not clear what it is yet. It might be as simple as a white pepper, or it might be something more complicated than that.
It is. The black pepper is toned down a lot. It's very close to white pepper now because it's so toned down over the last almost an hour or 50 minutes. But I will say that we've been chatting long way away from cigar. This is going back to a medium body cigar for sure. Very mild, very gentle, beautiful, a lot of smoke, but it's a very medium profile and enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my segue back to the cigars is that the Jacob's Ladder is actually named after the flowering plant in Greece called the Jacob's Ladder, which was a medicinal plant dating back to ancient Greece times. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Simon, always a pleasure to have you on board. And I don't know why his picture didn't come up then. But Damo, Simon is saying it's great to see you out of hospital.
It's always good to have Dame with us.
Oops. There we go. Too many people trying to drive at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that dark cacao note for me has also become a bit lighter. It's more, not quite a milk chocolate, but it's gone from being that dark raw cacao to a chocolate flavor for me as well.
Yeah, and I'm having all parallel cedar. The cedar is very parallel. It's still going. Beautiful.
I've still got the cedar. I've definitely still got the cedar. And I literally 30 seconds ago, Damo, I was just thinking, man, I wish I had some of the 100% chocolate lying around, because I think that would pair in very, very nicely right about now.
Still got that cinnamon note in there, though. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, gorgeous. And the burn is still like razor sharp.
Once I got past that bad burn, it's been pretty good for me.
Yeah.
So it's a cigar that tolerates beginners, is what you're saying.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Man, I don't know, it's psyche or what, but we start talking about herbs, and this is becoming very herbal sweet cigar. What the heck is going on?
I'm going to go further down that path. I know what that tip of the tongue is. It's spearmint.
Yeah,
that's what it is. There's a freshness.
A sweetened spearmint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can actually get that. Like, after I've exited the smoke and then just put some of the air through my mouth over my sinuses, I can get that soft.
Yeah.
Sort of like you've had a spearmint lolly 5 minutes ago, but you've still got that lingering going on.
Yeah. You've brushed your teeth, and if you drink orange juice now, it'll be hideous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, this is good. This is good.
You know, I give you a lot of crap, Omar, but you know I love you deep down inside, right?
Somewhat.
But there is one thing I will never be able to forgive you for.
That you're gay and I don't like you.
And that is the fact that I'm sitting here. Well, look, that may be true, but it's your fault as well. It's the fact that I'm sitting here looking forward to sipping on my pink grapefruit kombucha. And I will never, ever be able to forgive you for that. It's entirely your fault.
Jeez.
No, I'm not toasting you. No, there's no cheersing.
The question is, do you actually eat grapefruit as well?
I don't, but I'm actually curious to try it again. So I haven't had grapefruit in probably 25 years. Last time I would have been a teenager, and I didn't like it back then, but I'd probably like it now. One
of the tricks that I do with grapefruit, and it's a carry on from experimenting and stuff that I've done in the coffee industry. If you get an espresso that's a bit too bitter for you to enjoy, you literally just put the tiniest pinch of salt in your espresso, stir it in and drink it, and it actually knocks that sharpness off the bitterness. And so I thought, wonder what happens if you sprinkle a bit of salt on your grapefruit, and it actually knocks the bitterness down and makes it a lot more palatable. So a lot of people will put sugar on their grapefruit, but my go-to is just a small sprinkling of salt on the grapefruit before you eat it.
Matter of fact,
spoonful of salt makes it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Omar, you go.
All Asian cultures, all citrus is to be consumed with a tiny bit of salt, and it just enhances the flavors so well, and it masks the bitterness of the grapefruit as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Actually, I've got my uncle's recipe of grapefruit. It's probably the best thing I've ever had. It's basically you chop up grapefruits and you de-skin them or whatever, and you pour some mashed up walnuts on them, put some walnuts on them, and drizzle some honey. And that is a one hell of a deadly combination.
That does sound amazing.
It's
That's
beautiful.
a nice ring there as well.
Oh, oh man.
Oh yeah, he still got it. We start talking about being gay, and out come the rings.
Mhm.
It's a very satisfying cigar, but if it was sitting in my humidor alongside, some Connecticut's and other things, I could definitely see situations where I would look and go, it's a beautiful cigar, but not now. It's one of those cigars. It's an evening cigar. It wouldn't be a daytime cigar. I wouldn't have it over breakfast. There are other cigars where I might. This is very much a end of the day kind of wind down cigar.
I could have pre-breakfast cigar.
No one's asking you, Omar. No one's asking you. You could smoke a stick of dynamite for breakfast.
Man, this would be good for breakfast, man.
And it's also a cigar that you'd want to have without having any other tasks or commitments on the day. Is sort of, even if you have it in the afternoon, you'd sort of just want it to be a lazy evening. It's sort of, to me, it's one of those cigars to unwind you and just get into the relaxation and chill mode.
Just sit with. Yeah.
Well, yep, Dan's hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah.
He won't have any cigar. He'll have every cigar for breakfast, just as many as he can get his hands on.
Yeah. Cool. Man, just good.
Oh,
dude. Sharing, please.
Dude.
Did you bring enough for everyone?
Well, actually, I got a little bit of 90% chocolate here. I might crack a bit of that out since he said it.
Just to make Phil jealous.
That's right.
So is this a Damo special 90% as well?
No, I haven't been up to the labour-intensive process of chocolate making, so I found Aldi do a 90%, one of their own brands. It's not too bad.
Yeah, I went shopping for a good dark chocolate a little while ago, and the best I could do in a hurry was 78%. One of those Lindt ones.
I've noticed that Woolworths are now stocking the 90 and 95% Lindt around me.
Yeah, right.
Which I was actually quite surprised. So it's obviously becoming popular.
Yeah, not here in Albury, unfortunately. At least not where I went. There you go. There's some local knowledge at work. Thank you, Daniel. I'll check them out next time.
That's it. So, this cigar, what is the comparison? What do we relate this cigar to? I mean, in terms of cigar world.
Gosh.
I remember doing Alec Bradley at Cigar Professor.
Magic Post?
Right?
The Magic Post?
Yeah. Yeah. And something darker. I mean, although this is much better than that AB, I think. But
it's a little bit reminiscent of was it the 10th anniversary or 20th anniversary Maduro from Perdomo?
Maduro was that Maduro was. Yeah, look, I don't know.
And what was that other one? Macanudo, the Maduro.
Now that was very
vintage.
cacao-like. That was just cacao bomb. No spice, no cedar. It was like cacao.
It was creamy, woodsy, smooth, with the sweetness to it.
That was actually. You got tough.
I'm just going through the catalog in my head. It's got shades of the V660, but it's definitely not the same. I would say, if anything, it's like if you got a Rocky Patel 1990 and turned it up to 11.
Yeah, Rocky Patel RP 9090, very similar. Yes, I agree to that straight away.
Yeah,
29. I think it was I don't know, Habanos or something. I can't remember what wrapper it was, but yeah, like the wrapper reminds me of AB, but the profile probably is more closer to RP. Yeah.
It is giving me little nuances of the Serie V Milano Lancero.
Yeah, I can see some similarities. So there's some big differences as well, but there's some similarities.
There's differences, but there's that cinnamony note, that smooth, mellow creaminess to it.
Yeah.
Milano is a full body all the way through. And this has toned down a lot more. This is much softer, milder version as well.
It's like if cigars were dried fruit, stick with me here for a second. If cigars were dried fruit and you got the RP 1990 and you let it sit for a year just to dehydrate even more, you'd get this. It's that same profile, but considerably more intense.
We incidentally, we got an RP coming, so it's kind of exciting. ALM, the original.
Now, remind me, Damo, was that part of the original batch of ALR second edition Robustos? Because they have started remaking them, haven't they?
They have started remaking them, but that I currently have is the last that we had from when I originally got them. So I originally bought them, put them in one of the early packs in the first year, I think it was. And then it was so popular, I bought a pile more boxes, and I don't believe I've restocked since. So the ones that I bought after the show were still part of the same batch number as the original batch.
Then also, this is better builds, and it burns better than Magic Toast as well.
I'm actually a big fan of the Magic Toast. I know that it wasn't either of your favorites, but I really liked it. But I would still agree that this is a better cigar.
Just seeing if I've got any Magic Toast still in stock.
From 1 to 10, how much like a cloud hopper is it? -5? -5, yeah, man. Tim, you lost me there, man. Tim lost me this dude.
I've still got a handful of Magic Toasts from the very first year of our show in stock.
Wow.
Same batch.
Wow.
Nice.
So it'd be interesting to see how that compares.
Well, it's amazing to think that those cigars that are still surplus stock from our early packs now have 3 more years of age on them.
Yeah.
That is absolutely flown by.
Yeah.
Well, I actually bought that stock before we launched the business. And we're coming up to 4 years. So they've been in my care for probably about 4 years now.
Some of them, yeah, that's true.
Would have been around about October, November that I purchased it. So
I would agree with Stephen.
What are those Camacho?
Sorry.
You go.
Camacho, it has some correlationship a little bit. I agree with the Camacho. Not the triple Maduro, but the Camacho. I think it was a Corojo or one of the rappers. Very close. Very close.
Yeah, well, we had
Damo. What was that?
We had the Camacho when I was tied up with Disney and couldn't actually The Camacho that you had a while back was the Connecticut Churchill.
Mm.
It wasn't one of the packs, Damo, but what was that Camacho that you got in the coffin case, the black coffin case?
Ah, yes. Actually, I was looking at my boxes that I had there. That was the that was the Black Label limited edition.
Yeah, Black Label limited edition. What a stick!
$600 US.
I would say this is
a box was what they were retailing for in the States, and it was box 18.
I'd say
beautiful
some similarities to that.
Yeah. Well, I've still got in my own private stash. I think I got 1.5 boxes of those.
Yeah, wow.
So they're ones that I figured would go really well with a decent amount of age on them.
They would.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a cigar that, you add 3-4 years to those. Whew.
They will age well.
Stu, you're going to have to explain that comment. I have no idea what you're talking about.
That coffee note towards the end is becoming a little bit more espresso-like for me as well.
I'm just starting the final third, and I'd say the flavor profile's kicking up.
Ramping up.
Where are you at, Omar? Are you finished?
It's definitely ramping up.
Yeah.
Damo, how have you overtaken it?
You guys are close.
I don't know.
I don't know how you did that then. Yeah. You're talking about going all slow, and all of a sudden you just... What happened? What the fuck?
Waiting to get a word in, that's why.
Poor Diddums.
Tell you what, we've been going for smoking for about an hour and 10.
An hour and 10, yeah. Definitely an hour and 10. It's not bad at all. It's not bad at all.
I'm just gonna mute Omar for a second here. Just give me a sec. I just don't want to hear his reaction. Anyone getting any nicotine hit? Because I'm getting just a little bit of nicotine hit.
Not yet. Must be all the weight you lost.
Must be. Omar, don't make me turn off your camera as well. I don't want to hear it.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Look at the burn, man. It's just razor.
Yeah.
Look at the
construction quality, perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Looks like Mr. Stu is lining up to become our best customer the way he's talking at the moment.
That was one from my own private stash as well. I gave him.
Oh, wow. Well, you're going to have to do him some favors, Stu, if you want more of those.
between Omar and Stu, I reckon I could have 2 personal servants for the rest of my life and just pay them in cigars.
Well, I'd say now I'm getting a clearer sense of a white pepper and a spearmint. And for me, those are the 2 primary flavors that I'm getting at this point.
Interestingly enough, when I had this cigar the first time with Omar, it was a warm, sunny day. We had it after lunch, I believe, from memory. And when we had it then, and it wasn't from this batch, it was samples that I'd purchased for appraisal before, purchasing box quantities. It was an incredible fruit bomb. It was probably one of the most fruity cigars that we'd encountered. When we had it, it was dates, figs, cherry, raisins, all those sort of notes in it.
Dried fruits, very dried fruit heavy.
Was it warmer when you had that?
Yes.
Much warmer.
Yeah. It was definitely a warm. I remember the day that we were having it on. It was we were trying to keep out of the sun because it was that warm. So.
Yeah, that would make sense.
The only one thing I have in criticism to the Southern Draw brand are the boxes that they use to package the cigars in. The lids of the boxes are quite flimsy. The lids actually lift entirely off the box. They got little sides on them that sort of fit down over the box, but those little sides come off very easily. The humidification causes the glue that they use to release.
Right.
The base box is well presented, and the cigars are very well presented. But that would be my only criticism for a cigar of the quality that it is. When you look at brands like Perdomo and Arturo Fuente and some of the Camacho and some of those other brands, they put that sort of heavy feel to the box and the nice hinged lid, and it's got that nice tight feel when it locks in. It would be nice to see a slightly better quality box, but at the end of the day, you're not smoking the box, you're smoking the cigar. So,
I did that very first Southern Draw that we had, whose name escapes me at the moment.
Rosa Sharon?
It was the one that was raising money for.
Yes, that was the. Yes, it was the one that was raising money for the Navy.
The veterans, Navy SEALs, I think.
Yes.
I had one that basically just came apart on me, just completely expanded and went to crap on me. And Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you had one go bad on you as well.
That was the Ignite.
I did. Yeah, I had a bad experience with him early on, but everything since then's been good.
Mind you, that was a ripper of a cigar.
Yeah, great cigar.
That was a really good cigar. That was a cigar
Really didn't explode
at the
on
end
you.
of it, you'd be happy to have another one straight after it.
Yeah.
I think of that cedar spot where there's a lot of mint cedar, and it stick to your tip of your tongue.
Sorry, Omar, I didn't quite catch that.
What you were saying about the cigar, that it's got cedar, mint, and that's about it, and it's stick to your tip of your tongue. That freshness. and a little bit of bite.
Yeah. I'm probably halfway through the final third now.
Yeah.
There is more there. I was probably a little bit unfair to say that's all that there was, but they were certainly the two dominant flavors. Was the for me it was the white pepper and the spearmint. There is a bit of cedar there. There is still a little bit of fruitiness. Yeah. Daniel had the same thing as me. The first one he had just fell to pieces on him, and I was quite worried. I was thinking, if this is what it's like, then we might have a problem on our hands. But every other one, when we actually smoked it on the show, and then every other one that I've had, has just been absolutely perfect. And yeah, when they're good, they're amazing.
Well, they do a different blend and a different release every year for a different charitable cause. You know, service personnel related charity.
Yeah. All right, I just lost my ash a second time, so that pepper's probably going to ramp up again.
The last one they did, the Ignite, it's on their website, the Ignite 2022, was obviously for I assume it's for the Air Force, because it's oh no, it might be for the naval flyers. It's called Warriors on the Fly, and it looks like it's got a picture of a shark on it. So
yeah, right. Still plenty of smoke production all the way down at the end.
yeah.
Yeah, look, I got to be honest. I'm getting a little bit of a nicotine kick out of this one. Must be all the weight loss.
Yeah.
I'm turning into David Leinhelm.
Have to send him a warning message before he likes this one. I'm almost down to the business end, but it's still very smokable at the moment.
Yeah. Hasn't gone soft or anything. No issues with tar. Nothing. Just perfect. Just a good stick all around.
Actually, I had my first stick with a bit of tar in it. What was the one I had with you the other week, Omar?
We had, I'm trying to remember, it's a Dominican brand called, come to me. We had a bit of a tar.
Not the one you gave me.
No? Oh, we had Perdomo and cool.
That's it. It was the Champagne Noir in a torpedo.
That's it.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
did you
torpedo can be a bit
cut
more
it
prone to
and
that.
back into action? It was all good
Yeah.
again.
Torpedoes can be a bit more prone to it, but then they're also the easiest ones to fix.
Yeah.
Do we have any of the Chairman Select? What were they? The
Gurkhas.
Gurkhas, Chairman Select. We got any of those left?
Let me have a look. I did try to get some more of those a while ago. They were in the little Perfecto. I couldn't get hold of that size, but we do have a small number of them in a Churchill Perfecto size.
Oh wow.
Interesting. Because they were a great stick, but fragile. Their wrappers were fragile.
Yeah. Connecticut.
And if we had any of the original batch left, I'd be curious to know what condition they're in. Because if they're still good, then they'd be probably amazing.
Yeah.
There's probably a odd one floating around in all my ones and two odd ones there, but that would be about it. Mind you, the Churchill ones would have been purchased August last year. So
Yeah, it's a
it's
year on those. And then, of course, we're never sure how old they might be from the supplier.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Just turn off the smoke alarms before you do that, Tim.
Yeah.
You do what Schwarzenegger did and get a smoking tent set up just outside the council chambers. And have all the council meetings in the tent.
I'd love to get a few more cigar smokers into the Senate at the next federal election. I know Babette's pretty keen to start a smoking club at Parliament.
Really?
Heck, I'd go down just to be part of the club and bring the cigars.
Heck yes.
We could do some subliminal campaigning and just put little stickers on all the cigars on the outside wrapper and just actually list the number of tax dollars on each cigar.
Yes. Yeah.
Just make sure we give them like big, heavy Churchills, where it's like $30, $40 of tax or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, look, you get 20 gram cigars, not massive. It's big. It's not massive. That's $40+ worth of tax on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's tobacco. Got a shipment that's going to hit in the next week or two. I'm interested to see because the tax apparently went up again on the 1st of September.
Oh, wow.
And by my reckoning, that should put the tax at something like about $2,180 a kilo at the moment. You can see why all the illegal tobacco is going on with prices like that.
Oh, Stu's got a great idea. Just along the cellophane. Just along the cellophane.
Yeah, well, a 7-inch cigar, that's about $6 an inch.
Yeah.
Just need to work out how many puffs there are per per inch, and we can tell them how much each puff it's costing them in tax.
Yeah, it's the triple happy ones you got to watch out for, Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's probably cheaper to be smoking anything other than tobacco these days.
Yeah. Yeah, you could smoke crack and it'd be cheaper.
Anything would be cheaper.
Yeah, if you get into council, Tim, I'm not normally in favour of sister city programs, but if you can set up a cigar supply sister city, then I'm all for it. Well, your fingers must be burning by now, Damo.
Getting close.
We haven't managed to all finish our cigars at the same time.
Almost.
Well, it looks like we got about an hour 30 out of this stick.
Yeah, we did.
Close to it.
There's nothing more enjoyable than a cigar coming back to the nail, and it's still enjoyable. It's just, that's what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. This feels like a cigar that'd just about smoke itself. Completely effortless.
That's it.
Well, beautiful way to spend an evening. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to get through a few more of cigars in the next week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I've got to. I'm basically going to drive to Armidale via Albury and Brisbane.
Wow.
In that order.
Hang on. Driving to Armidale via Albury and Brisbane in that order.
Yes. So next week down to Albury, and then on the drive back up, halfway back to Sydney, I'll pick up a truck and drive the truck to Brisbane. Then out to Armidale, back to Sydney. Then I believe I've also then got to drive the truck back down to Gunning a few days after that. So, and then back to Sydney again.
Yeah.
Is this a truck full of fireworks? Can you smoke in that truck?
No, I can't smoke in the truck, unfortunately. But
that is a shame.
The Disney cruises are just about to start doing their cruise season, and I'm basically acting as the freight driver for the stock. Last year, I only had to worry about Sydney and Melbourne, but the only freight company that was doing firework freight in Australia went bankrupt about 3-4 months ago, and none of the other freight companies are interested in taking on the work. So basically, the industry has to do its own transport now. There are guys that literally drive from Perth across to the East Coast to pick up supplies and drive it back across to Perth again.
Wow. Well, it might be a niche there for you.
Well, look, there probably will be a bit of work moving forward. One company has already asked if I would be interested in jumping in the truck with one of their drivers for 2-up driving to do some deliveries to Darwin and Perth.
Wow.
So next year. So just because there's no other way to get stuff there.
And do they have to have, I mean, obviously they've got to have all the right insurances and whatever else for the dangerous goods, but do they have to have someone on board who has the right certifications as well?
Yeah, got to have not a license to use, but a license to transport and handle. So,
yeah, well, Udo, didn't realize you were with us.
Hey,
Yeah,
Udo,
joining us, mate.
it's been a while. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
This hasn't turned on me at all.
Nah, it's going good.
No, I keep thinking it's gonna, and then it just doesn't. I keep going. I'm not going to spike it. I'm going to let it go once it starts burning my fingers.
Yeah.
I was contemplating the same thing, but came to the same conclusion as well.
Yeah. It's been good. Let it be what it is.
That's it.
But not harsh. It hasn't gone herbaceous or anything like that. It's just last third's just been consistent.
So, Damo, I think the answer is you've got to buy yourself your own truck so you can smoke in it. And then become Damo, your friendly local explosives delivery guy.
Well, the guy that actually wants me to drive this truck, he's spent $250,000 getting a special setup truck just to do the freight. So,
wow.
Big money.
Yeah.
Just because there's no other option. Which is a lot of money for a small business to have to fork out.
Yeah.
But he's hoping to sort of pool in with other operators like myself and do milk runs on a sort of semi-regular basis. So maybe twice a year to Perth, once a year to Darwin, even talking about once or twice a year to Townsville as well.
Just go to the Northern Territory for the 1st of July, pick up all the surplus after their NT day, and just quietly drive it back to the eastern states.
Funny you should say that. The police put inspection patrols on the roads out of the state, and they actually stopped vehicles for inspection for people trying to smuggle fireworks across the state. There are actual firework operators who are licensed in other states who bring their fireworks in, but due to legislation, can't bring it back out. So then they actually have to pay to put their surplus stuff in government storage in the Northern Territory because they can't bring it back out of the state again.
Crazy. All right. Well, I'm just about done.
I'm done.
Me too. Well, that's pretty good. I mean, what, an hour 35?
Yeah.
Hour 30 at least, yeah. Well, first time in Cigar Professor history, we're all going to put him down at the same time.
I know.
Yep.
That's it.
Last one. Yep.
There you go. It's the first time for everything.
That was a great stick.
That was a fabulous stick, Damo. Congratulations once again.
No nicotine for me, so...
A little bit for me. Nothing, not harsh, not bad, but a little. It's there.
Yep.
Next month, Hammer and Sickle Hermitage, #1.
Now that'll be very interesting. That is an old cigar. Basically, that's the brand that went out of business due to the war in Ukraine.
Yep.
And this was already a couple of year-old stock before they went out of business. So how long's the Ukraine war been going on for now?
Over 2 years now, isn't it?
I don't know. Time flies, but yeah. So these have got to be at least, I'd say, 5-7 years old, something in that ballpark.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting to see what they're like, given that vintage. Also, I'm not 100% sure of how well they've been stored prior to us getting them, because they were actually found by accident. Because I'd been pestering that supplier if they had any more hammer and sickle, and no, and then they sent out an email to their wholesale account saying, "Oh, we found a unmarked box with, X number of boxes of these ones in it." So,
well, so long as it was in their storage facility, it should be okay, hopefully.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would have been in their climate-controlled warehouse. So, anyway, so that will be very interesting. We'll never get that one again, and then absolutely looking forward to seeing what 3 to 4 years of age is done to the ALRs.
Yeah. No, that'll be good, because they were good when we first got them, but we made the comment another couple of years of age on these would be amazing. So now we get to find out.
Well, it'll be interesting to see whether that turn happens between the first and second, third, or whether that's been totally eliminated.
And I remember that was a cigar that I often had trouble smoking all the way down because of there was a turn towards the end as well. So it'll be interesting to see if that's smoothed out.
And then I'll have to start thinking about what we're going to smoke for our 4-year anniversary.
Yes, indeed, and for Christmas, because we're out of the white Christmases.
We're out of white Christmases. Interestingly enough, the prices on those have actually become quite expensive. They've become they weren't a cheap stick to start with. They were a bit of a premium stick, but they've become a little bit more expensive of recent. But we've still got at least 11, maybe 12 different cigars buried away in the vault that haven't been yet addressed. So I'll have to come up with a little bit of what we're going to do for the next pack. Something special for the 4-year anniversary.
I foresee some work for you and Omar, taste testing and seeing where they're all at.
Yes, quality control.
Quality control. It's essential. All righty, gentlemen. Well, it's always a pleasure. And Cos has joined us. Good to see you, Cos.
Hey, Cos. Been a while. Thank you for joining us.
A couple of the old faces popping in for this episode. Well, thank you all. We're going to call it a day. That was another huge success. So thank you, Damo. Thank you, Omar. We'll see you all next month.
All right. See you then.